Okay. Let's see if anybody comes on. We got to go over yesterday what happened at the trial. For Sean Combs, the trial of the century, they're calling it. I'm here at my regular spot. Those of you who have been watching with me for the last few days know I just discovered a new coffee shop last week that I love. So I'm here enjoying some delicious chai and a little light breakfast. Now we gotta go over this, what happened, what went down yesterday, because we ended off kind of on a strange note last week when Cassie kind of had a rough last day, and they pulled out a lot of private, personal texts and information about her that wasn't looking so hot. So yesterday, last week, things ended off on a weird note, but yesterday, Sean Holmes got chewed up, honey. Basically, the witnesses that came on yesterday were very poignant and very powerful. It just looked like they're just going to be rolling out more and more witnesses, people who flipped, people who are working in the enterprise. It just seemed like more and more of them are going to be coming forward as the weeks progress, to the point where they just going to bury dude. Because, these people, at the end of the day, they're not going to be loyal to him. The people that were working for him and seeing all of the illegal activity, they're not going to be loyal to him if it means that they're going to have to go down. And a lot of them left with a bad taste in their mouth, or just literally hating this dude after they did work for him. Some did not. Some stayed until the end. But at the end of the day, the feds don't play, and the feds don't bring nobody to trial unless they have a ridiculous case against them. They've been watching them for years. The amount of evidence they have against them is just overwhelming. They're not going to let everyone know about what they have and what they possess in terms of evidence right off the jump. But it's so much of it. I feel like they have so much of it from hearing about all the terabytes and all the things that they had when they raided him, that it's just going to be so much coming out. That all these naysayers and shit talkers who are trying to claim, oh, they don't really got nothing. Where's the evidence? Oh, but what about the RICO? I thought it was a RICO. As we have been saying, those of us who've been watching this case since the beginning, yes, the RICO involves other people. But if those other people turn on your ass and flip, because you were the mastermind and you the big dog, they trying to save themselves, then you don't have no co-conspirators. There are no co-defendants. There's nobody there. It's just you. And that's what's going on with Sean Combs. So, those of you that want to see why it's illegal, why it's considered organized crime, that's coming to light. Yesterday was interesting because they had, Dawn Richard from Dirty Money come out, and of course she was very close to Sean for some years and working with him on music, and was signed to the label and what have you. They kind of discredited her. She couldn't really keep her story together, not because she was lying, but because of probably the trauma and the forgetfulness that trauma tends to involve. You just aren't able to really remember everything in the way that it happened. And so they try to make her look bad. They have the sister, of course, they pulled the sister up, Miss Westmoreland, that he hired on last, because he had to have some representation of a black woman defending him. And I heard she chewed Dawn up. But after Dawn, it just started to get better from there. I mean, you had David James come out. I think David James came out next. He was a dude, big white guy that had been, I think he had come out of college and got him a job with Diddy as an assistant. Thought he was doing something, working his 20 hours a day. 20 hours a day. Going around the clock with Diddy, working for him. Then he started to observe all of the, horrific behaviors and the organized aspect of it. The fact that everyone around him was engaged in this kind of almost like cult-like practice of doing everything that Sean Combs wanted done in a certain type of way, even if it was illegalities involved in it. And that pertains to business, that pertains to professional, pertains to relational. Everything was about just serving and doing what this beast wanted done in the way he wanted it done. And so, um, yeah, at this point, they had him come out. He said some really poignant things. He said the first time he met Cassie, she basically came up to him like, hey, yo, this lifestyle is crazy. I think that he said they were on Star Island in Miami. Said this lifestyle is crazy. He was like, oh, for real? He's like, why don't you get out of here then? Like, what's up? Oh, I can't leave. You know, this guy, Sean, he runs my life. He runs my career, my music career. He pays for my housing. He does everything for me. Can't leave no matter what. So, you know, I was watching Amanda Seales. She did a really powerful short, you know, for all of those who sit there and are just like, why didn't she get out of there? Why didn't she leave? Why didn't she get out of there? And it's like Amanda did a good job of comparing it to the times when we are all caught doing something that we really don't feel like doing, we really don't want to do. But, you know, the stakes aren't as high as what Cassie was dealing with. Cassie had been groomed into what she was dealing with and what she was doing. She had been groomed into it. She was young, impressionable still. And one of the things David James said is that Puffy straight up told him, hey, you know, I got my queen. My queen is Kim Porter, which we know how he did, what happened with Kim Porter. Potentially. Allegedly. But he said, my queen is Kim Porter, but I got Cassie over here, and she's so young and easy to mold. I'm going to just use her for what I need to use her for. Basically, out of his own mouth. So these were the impressions he was getting from both of these people when he first came across them. You know, just a real sick, toxic situation that they were under. But, you know, in this case, at the end of the day, the perpetrator, the violator, the evil tyrant was you know who. So it's like there's no point of trying to take any of that guilt, any of the shame, and try to put it on anybody but on him. He should be ashamed of himself. He should feel like a horrible monster within himself. But I think that this guy is so rotten to the core that even with him being off of the drugs and off of the influence of all of those substances, which I would think he was off of them, I don't know. Even with all of that, has anyone noticed or gotten a hint that this dude was remorseful about anything? In any of what we've seen, if any of what the court reporters and the people that have been going in have noticed about him? This guy is just, he's rotten. He's just evil. I was watching this one guy named RJ Spinner talk about how narcissists, they always have entity attachments. So there's never, you're not going to ever find someone who's operating from the framework or from the energetic of the narcissist, which is a very particular sentient, it's a particular frequency. So the narcissist is just kind of just above the animal frequency, you know, but below regular humanity or whatever, obviously. And so he said, in order for there, in order for there to be a narcissist and for someone to have like one of these, what they call cluster B personalities, there has to be an entity attachment. And I would say in the case of Sean Combs, I mean, all we hear about is people recounting him and, you know, his eyes going black and all of the shifts and the things he undergoes when that entity has gotten possession over him. So I think, or entities, because a lot of times it'd be more than one, especially for people like him who are in the dark arts. So it's just really interesting because we also have to think about the fact that Cassie was probably under a lot of spell work and you know, a lot of things that were controlling her in a certain type of way when she was engaged with him, because that's what he's into, you know? So for a lot of us, we don't really understand that it's not so easy to be like, oh, why didn't she leave? Why didn't she go? The girl was trapped, you know, she was trapped. And So yeah, that was some of the things that the Rick James, or Rick, whatever, David James has said about his encounters with Cassie and them. And then even last night I told this story how the girl, Carrie Morgan, who was, I guess, her best friend for about 17, 18 years, a good portion of her life. Um, Her and Carrie would roll around with Diddy. They would travel around with him. They would go different places. I think they said Ibiza, Jamaica, different spots. And it was many occasions where she's seen, him being very aggressive, not even just aggressive, but like whooping Cassie's ass. And I guess she didn't do nothing until it came down to when he put his hands on her, ended up banging her up beside the head with a hanger and drawing blood and, trying to choke her out. He did a lot of crazy wild shit with the friend. And that ended up basically ruining her and Cassie's relationship. So it's when you're in these kind of relationships, it's a very isolatory situation. You can't really have friends because nobody want to see you sitting there getting your behind whooped and not standing up for yourself or getting free of the situation. And then also, if they're close enough to you, then they're also going to potentially be in harm's way, which is what happened with Cassie's friend Carrie, that, they lost that lifelong friendship because of Cassie's not allegiance to Diddy, but her terror, her absolute, fearsome reality that she lived with him, where it was like, shit, he do that to me every day, you know? She didn't even really, I don't think she really empathized with the girl, because she was just like, shit, I get my behind whooped like that all the time by him. Oh, he hit you with a hanger? That ain't nothing, So this is the mentality of people who are dealing with these levels of trauma on a regular basis, this level of PTSD, this level of Stockholm syndrome. It's a numbness. It's a numbness, and it's also it's also like your mind is split. You know what I mean? The mind just is kind of split. So you have this dissonance. It's dissonant. Things are not harmonious. You're thinking one thing, feeling something different. You're numbing. You have to numb because that's the only way you can really cope. And in this case, I know that Cassie was using a lot of substances to numb, particularly opiates, because they are the most numbing. And so, it's just a lot that went on there. So then Carrie came out. She told the story of watching Sean Combs drag Cassie down the hall by her hair in Jamaica for 50 feet. A super long haul. And then to escape out into the woods. I guess she got away from him and ran out into the woods. And I guess Sean and Carrie got on individual little whatever, golf carts or something like that. Went out looking for Cassie. And the friend Carrie found Cassie, and her and Cassie found a ditch to hide in. And I'm like, okay, but everybody wants to say she could have left whenever she wanted to. But she was always trying to leave. And every time she was trying to leave, he was searching for her. He was on golf carts. He was running around. He was sending his henchmen. He was sending his security. They was yanking her up, carrying her. She's a small girl, right? Her and her friend were hiding in a ditch. Like, where is the freedom to leave in that? Not to mention how he had gotten into a pattern of taking her passports on a regular basis. So if she wanted to leave the country, that wouldn't have been an option for her. Where is the not travel? It's like, well, how are we getting past the African part of this and the fact that she was being held captive? Literally. Yeah, maybe she could have walked out the door down the street. Maybe. To me, it sounded like she didn't even have the capacity to really move around too freely on her own. But maybe she did have the ability to go out and do some things and get away. Okay, so not that hard to find someone when you're super rich. You got regular ninjas out here stalking their families that they done ran off, who ain't got no money and can still find them. So imagine a super rich, powerful guy. It ain't gonna be nothing but a thing for him to track down, this young girl and do what he will with her. And this guy was ruthless. He would do anything to anybody, just depending upon, whether or not they were going along with what he wanted. So yeah, we have to understand that. So that was yesterday. Carrie was really damning. Like, she told some stories that just made him look like just so evil, but then also she talked about the different people that were working for him, like the KKs and the different assistants and people that he had around him. But it's always just like this big, it just feels like a cult to me. Like he just had this following of people who were just numb, blind, like didn't think for themselves and just all held this dude. And they just did whatever he wanted them to do, basically. And I would hear different stories of times when, even the guy, the David James, Rick, the guy that testified yesterday, talking about the times when he had met him and his sister was there, Keisha, and this person, like all these people just aiding, abetting, and enabling this behavior and just standing right by him just because dude had money and some kind of power. He had some kind of really powerful, not even just charisma, but some kind of, probably otherworldly power around him that just kept people, very much in allegiance to him. And so it's a deep thing. I'm happy folks is getting free right now. I'm also happy justice is coming down. I do not think that, I don't think that this is going to go in his favor as they continue to pull out all of these enterprise people that were involved in the enterprise that are now coming out as, they're becoming informants now. They're not co-conspirators. They're not working with him and for him anymore. They're working against him so that justice can be served, and that's beautiful. But it just really is, for me, someone who likes psychology a lot and studies personality disorders and things like that. It just makes me think, like, what would make someone, like, it scares me that humanity could be so vulnerable and gullible that they could, that a regular person could just stand behind and watch this level of depravity going on around them and stay even for one day. But I don't judge either, because I know how certain personalities have this power over people that you really don't understand until you get into that presence. So, I don't really have judgment for it. That's why I like what Amanda Seales was saying. Just like you would stay at a job you don't want, just like you might stay in a relationship you don't want, or marry someone you don't want to marry because you don't want to be mean, because you don't want to rock the boat. All those things, these are the reasons why people stay, even in something as atrocious as what someone like what Cassie was dealing with. This is the reason why people stay. They stay because there's a dissonance there. They're not standing and grounded in their own truth, you know what I mean? And there's a split in the personality, basically. And so because you're so out of alignment, you're not able to do the things that are beneficial for you and that are going to, be the best decisions for your life. So basically, it's not that hard to believe, and it's not that hard to see. I mean, I don't think I could have stayed around something like that for that long, but it's hard to say. I mean, a young girl, a man comes on to you, tells you his woman, you this and that. The man's super rich, he's super powerful, he's jet setting you all over the place, he's you caught up, he got you a fat crib. You know what I'm saying? All you gotta do is, it's not all you gotta do, it was a lot she had to do that was, like soul crushing, but she went ahead and did it because she had gotten, groomed into it, and she did it. So I don't know. It's a deep thing, y'all, right? So, got my drink here. I've been having a headache. I've been off of coffee for a few weeks, and man, that headache will not let up off of me in the mornings. But, and no other caffeine will suffice. It's like coffee is what my body is like used to. But I'm glad to be off of it because it's strong. It's a strong thing to get free of. But, yeah, y'all, this is my little coffee spot. Yes, it's cute. It's so pretty. I gotta show it to you all. So, yeah, I've just been here just vibing, just thinking about it. So, that was yesterday. So, Dawn Richard, David James, and Carrie Morgan. So, I have heard rumors that Cassie's mom is going to be testifying pretty soon. Some other enterprise-related people, different people that have worked for him, particularly certain assistants, women assistants that he also violated. I don't know if Capricorn Clark is going to be. She's one that I'm very interested in. She was his assistant for a while, I think for Sean John, some kind of Latina type girl. And, very much on the scene, very deep in the hip-hop and in the celebrity scene. And I just remember hearing the stories about how he had whooped her behind, I think because she knew about Cassie and Kid Cudi or whatever, because he thought she knew about that. I mean, beat her like within like inches of her life, like really, really, really beat this girl bad. And that was it. She ended up suing. I think she got a settlement out of it and just went kind of pretty much quiet. Like she'll hint at it on social media, but I think, maybe she signed the NDA or something. I'm not sure. She pretty much went silent, but I'm wondering if they call her in for the criminal case and if she's going to be testifying. I mean, it's so many victims. People don't realize how many victims. Like, there are so many victims. You got Natanya Rubin, that dude, framed Shine for shooting in the club when he really did it. Supposedly, allegedly. I mean, you got so many victims from this guy. It's disgusting. He's just been rampaging through the community, just accosting and destroying lives. I don't feel like not a drop of empathy for him or sympathy, like for nothing he's dealing with. Because it's just sad, and been hearing about this stuff for decades now. And it's all just coming to light. So, yes, honey, we are here. It's a quiet morning on YouTube. I see I had me a nice breakfast. I am getting ready to hit the road here and get on. How you doing? Hi. Yeah, we were just going over yesterday. Yesterday was a very interesting day on the trial. I think at the end of the day, it was a strong day for the prosecution. They were able to really, really push out a lot of start to get the ball rolling with giving people a sense of the bigger picture of why RICO, why an organized crime charge, why that. And I think David James, and he really, really kind of painted somewhat of a picture of that. I think, because they're about to go back on in about an hour. I think David James is coming back out, and he was already heating up. So we're going to see what he's bringing today. For those of you who are interested in keeping up with the actual transcripts, I know Inner City Press on Twitter or on X has been, typing in. He's live in the courtroom, and he's tweeting out all of what's being said in the courtroom. So that's kind of cool if you're interested in that. And then my girl BJ Investigates, or the surprise witness, is also, featuring all her stuff all his stuff on her channel. So you can keep up if you're that interested. I don't be having time during the day to keep up that close, but I do a little recap and look into things, by the time the day is wrapping up, just to see what's happening. Because it is really fascinating, and I am really, really curious to see where things go with this, right? So I hope y'all are having a wonderful Tuesday. I got kind of a busy day today. Grateful coming to you live from the beautiful city of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Always grateful to be here. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. What's up? What's up? I'm gonna get ready to pay for this food. I ate, but I didn't eat much. Sourdough. I said, let me try and see if my system can take sourdough. I can't eat bread, unfortunately. Can't eat a lot of stuff, very well. But they say sourdough is more digestible. So I had a little bit of that and some nice eggs and a nice latte chai. But yeah, y'all have a wonderful day. Peace.